Hello, I'm Mel Atke. I'm the author of Broadway North and A Million Miles from Broadway, and I am a lecturer on all things musical theater. What I have told you so far is the relatively familiar and conventional story of the musical. What I am telling you today will, for most people, be less familiar and less conventional. Still, it contains elements you will recognize. It used to be the hit songs routinely originated from musicals. Shows were often judged by the tunes the audience came out whistling. Too bad all those foreign language shows were missing out on all that. Or were they? I'm going to tell you the story of some shows you may not recognize that contained music that many of you will. Many people probably know the song Glowworm without realizing that it came from a 1902 German-language production of Lysistrata, with music by Paul Linke and libretto by Heinz Bolton-Backers. Richard Strauss had suggested Linke to Kaiser Wilhelm as a court composer, but the Kaiser, who was an admirer of Arthur Sullivan, thought him too vulgar. His early career had been spent writing opera parodies, and he honed his skills in Paris as a musical director for the Folies Bergère. His first great Berlin success was Frau Luna, a burlesque, fantastic spectacular, also with a libretto by Bolton-Backers, which began in 1899 as a simple one-act operetta. It struck a nerve with its hometown audience, but it was with Lysistrata that his reputation would be cemented. Although he fell out of favor when the new American jazz-flavored popular music took over, it's ironic that Das Glowwurmchen, or Glowworm in English, became a hit record for the Ink Spots, in that same format that had previously eluded him. Peru can lay claim to one of the most popular Latin American show tunes of all time, although it is not generally known as such. El Condor Pasa, or The Condor Goes By, is the wordless title theme from a zarzuela with music by ethnomusicologist Daniel Alomia Robles and a libretto by Julio Baudouin. Set in a mine in Cerro de Pasco, El Condor Pasa tells of the struggle between the native workers and their European bosses. The condor is used as a metaphor for freedom. It premiered at Teatro Mazzi, located in Lima's Plaza Italia in 1913, and was performed over 3,000 times. When Simon and Garfunkel recorded a version of the show's namesake finale in 1970, it was incorrectly credited as an 18th century Andean folk song.
I'd rather be a sparrow than a snail. Yes, I would. If I could, I surely would.
Shortly afterwards, filmmaker Armando Robles Godoy, the composer's son, successfully sued to assert his father's copyright, and subsequent reissues of the recording have corrected this error. By the 1960s, Michel Legrand had become a world-class jazz musician and film composer. Teamed with French New Wave auteur Jacques Demy, he created the first in a series of Gallic-flavored musical films. Le Parapluie de Cherbourg, The Umbrellas of Cherbourg, was a through-sung musical about young love and teenage pregnancy set against a backdrop of the Franco-Algerian War in the 1950s.
Mais je ne pourrai jamais vivre sans toi. Je ne pourrai pas, ne pars pas, j'en mourrai. Je te cacherai et je te garderai. Mais mon amour, ne me quitte pas.
Although it had an industrial port setting and gritty subject matter, Demy bathed his film in such glowing technicolor that it was literally seen through rose-colored glasses. The result was a soaring melodrama which included the Oscar-nominated hit song Je ne pourrai jamais vivre sans toi, I will never be able to live without you, known in English as I Will Wait for You.
Anywhere you want, anywhere you go, every day remember how I love you so. In your heartbeat, put in my heart, I know, and whatever
Writer and actor Tom Shea calls it as cinematic a musical as there's ever been. It's a superb application of French New Wave film techniques to the movie musical genre. Demy explains, I try to fight the belief that musicals can't make it in France. There have been counter-examples like West Side Story. Plenty of Stanley Donen, the director of Singin' in the Rain, musicals have done well in France and were superb. We haven't made many in France, but when we've tried, they were charming, done with a sense of lightness and charm that created a dreamy atmosphere. I first saw the film when it was re-released in a restored print in the 1990s. My initial reaction was, I wonder how many times Boublil and Schoenberg saw this before they wrote Miss Saigon. I think I got my answer in 2008 when Marguerite, which they wrote in collaboration with Legrand, opened in London. The Umbrellas of Cherbourg was adapted for the English-speaking stage in 1979 by Sheldon Harnick and Charles Burr in collaboration with Demy and Legrand, and directed by André Serban. It enjoyed a brief run of 79 performances in New York at the Public Theatre and received its Paris stage premiere in the same year at the Théâtre Montparnasse using a small orchestra. The English version opened in London at the Phoenix Theatre on the 10th of April 1980. It lasted only 12 performances. This version was revived at the Gielgud Theatre in London on the 22nd of March 2011 by Knee-High Theatre's then artistic director Emma Rice. It closed on the 21st of May of the same year. The major stage work for which Kurt Weill and Bertolt Brecht are now remembered came about when a former actor named Ernst Joseph Aufrecht bought the Théâtre am Schiffbaudamm and was determined to open it on his birthday with a new show. John Gay's 1728 Beggar's Opera had recently enjoyed a successful revival at the Lyric Theatre Hammersmith in London, and Brecht's assistant, Elisabeth Hauptmann, was working on a German adaptation. Aufrecht apparently leapt at the idea, but was reluctant to take Brecht's suggestion that Weill write a new original score. He had Weill prepare a few songs to audition and then gave the go-ahead. Die Dreigroschenoper, the Threepenny Opera, opened on the 31st of August 1928. The initial reception was not warm, but it gradually caught on and played for more than 400 performances. Soon, dance bands all over Germany were playing music from the show, including its opening number, Moritat von Mackie Messer, the Ballad of Mac the Knife, a song written just before the opening to satisfy the ego of actor Harold Paulson, who played Macheath. He was disappointed then to learn that while the song was about his character, he would not be singing it.
Und der Haifisch, der hat Zähne und die trägt im Gesicht. Und Macheath, der hat ein Messer, doch das Messer sieht man nicht.
With all the touring companies, Threepenny Opera amassed a staggering 4,200 performances in Germany in the 1928-29 season, and by 1933 had been seen over 10,000 times across Europe. A film was made by director G.W. Pabst in both German and French. An English version was planned but never made. The German version cut half of the music, but included several members of the original cast, including Lotte Lenya as Jenny. Although several attempts were made, it was not a success in the English-speaking world until an off-Broadway production opened in 1954 with a translation by Mark Blitzstein and starring Weill's widow, Lotte Lenya. Mac the Knife became a hit for Louis Armstrong and later Bobby Darin.
Oh, the shark has pretty teeth, dear, and he shows them pretty white. Just a jackknife as Macheath, dear, and he keeps it out of sight.
Fans of Baz Luhrmann's Moulin Rouge may have noticed Canadian singer Rufus Wainwright's rendition of what sounds like an old Parisian street song. It was, in fact, Complainte de la Butte, written for Jean Renoir's 1954 film musical French Can-Can.
La lune trop blême pose un diadème sur tes cheveux roux. La lune trop rousse de gloire éclabousse ton jupon plein de trous. La lune trop pâle caresse l'opale de tes yeux blasés. Princesse de la rue, sois la bienvenue dans mon cœur blessé. Les escaliers de la butte sont durs aux miséreux. Les ailes des moulins protègent les amoureux.
The lyrics were by Renoir, and the music by Georges Van Perry, a man with a solid background in cabaret and musical comedy. Van Perry began as a pianist at the Cabaret Chez Fischer in 1924, and in 1927 he enjoyed his first success with Lulu at the Théâtre des Nus. This show then traveled to Budapest and was the first in a series of musicals with lyricist Philippe Perret and a book writer, Serge Weber. His wartime musical, Une femme par jour, A Woman per Day, with a book by Weber and lyrics by future film director Jean Boyer, opened at the Théâtre de Capucine in 1943 and was filmed in 1948. His later works include the spectacular Les Chasseurs d'Images at the Théâtre du Châtelet in 1947, and Mini Moustache, a parody western with a libretto by Jean Brasseur and André Hornet, which opened at the Théâtre de la Gaieté Lyrique in December 1956. In addition, he would compose more than 60 scores for the theater, in addition to some 350 films, beginning in 1930 with the first French screen musical, René Clair's Les Millions. In recent years, Sudden Théâtre has toured an anthology review of Van Perry's songs called Comme de bien entendu, as of course. On 13th of June 1930, a review called E do Outro Mundo opened at the Teatro Recreo in Rio de Janeiro. The music was by Ari Barroso, the lyrics by noted cartoonist and illustrator Jose J. Carlos, and the book by Margarita Max. Although it was well received critically, audiences didn't really take to it, and it closed within a matter of days. It would have been forgotten, except that a young samba composer named Lamartine Bablo saw the show and fell in love with one of Barroso's melodies, Es mulatto val se mu, this mulatto val be mine, although he detested Carlos's lyrics. Evidently without the author's permission, he wrote his own lyric with a new title, No Rancho Fundo, or No Ranch Fund, which he presented on a radio show with Bando de Tangaras. It was first recorded in 1931 by Elisina Coelho and went on to become a standard. Pablo and Barroso wrote many more hits together. On the other hand, Jose Carlos never forgave what he considered to be Barroso's betrayal. Another song by Barroso would achieve even greater international fame. Aquarela do Brasil, Watercolors of Brazil, also first appeared in a stage musical, Entra na Faxa, Enter the Strip, with book by Luis Iglesias, which opened on the 10th of June 1939 in Rio. Like No Rancho Fundo, it was not an immediate hit. In fact, it was only after it was included in a Walt Disney animated film, Saludos Amigos, that it became popular. First Brazilian song to be played over 1 million times on American radio in a recording by Xavier Cugat. It even formed the musical inspiration for the 1985 Terry Gilliam film, Brazil.